Hey guys, and welcome to Conversations with Kiki. It's your girl Kiki, and I just wanted to talk about some shit that is definitely on my mind and has been weighing on my mind. So, a couple of days ago, one of my close friends, family members, put up this video that he had gotten from someone else about this white lady yelling at these two, like her neighbor and these two black gentlemen who apparently must have been blocking, from what I got from the video, either her driveway or blocking like a shared driveway that they have, and proceeded to call the two black gentlemen niggers, not niggas, but niggers. And also proceeded to tell the white, like the other neighbor, I'm assuming she's white, was, fuck you, fuck your mother, and all this other stuff. So, with that being said, the woman had recorded it all, told her, you can't use that kind of language. She was like, well, you tell me when it's illegal, and show me the paperwork. Not that she would stop saying it, but just show her when it's illegal. And so my mom hadn't seen the video. So I was telling my mom about it, and my mom was like, and I said the saddest part was at the end, where one of the black gentlemen was like, people say that we've come a long way, but we really haven't. And so my mom was like, well, that's not true. And I'm like, it is. People say we have come a long way, but anybody who lives in Massachusetts, you tell me now that we've come a long way. Go into those comments. Go look in a post. I think it was Channel 25 when they talked about changing the name of Faneuil Hall. And I want you to look in those comments and see how bad the racism pours. And I'm like, these are people. And I went, and some of the ones that were the nastiest, I went to their profile. They live in Fitchburg. A lot of them were from Waltham. And anybody who is from Boston, like the Boston area, knows there are still cities out here that as a black or a brown person you wouldn't go to. Waltham being one of them. There's Spanish people out there, but there's certain areas of Waltham that it's just like, ooh, we don't want to be there too long because they're going to look at you funny, like, what are you doing here? Hell, I tell people all the time, I would never go back to Newton, and I lived there. We were the only black family out there, and that was the first time I ever been called a nigger, was in Newton. I'll share that story with you guys. I was like maybe 11 or 12. And so my grandmother lived in Newton. She lived on Grove Street. And so like in front of where she lived at is a big community park. It's a parking lot, and then it was like a playground there. And it was a community playground, and it had a tennis court, and it had a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm trying to recollect it. Sorry. So my grandmother lived in the back of that. And so again, we were the only black family out there. Everybody else treated us pretty nice, but you had some stares. Like sometimes I would want to go play with other little kids, and their mothers would grab their kid's hand and take off. And it would kind of be like very lonely. So I always had my Walkman, and I always had my CD player, and I would just sit there and listen to music and call it a day. But I remember that my grandmother had a neighbor that lived in the building with her, and because my grandmother lived in a retirement community. And so the neighbor, her granddaughter also used to come over on the weekends. And so we were outside playing. We were having fun. I had just met her, and we had so much fun together. I wish I could find this girl. And her grandmother was super sweet to me. And her grandmother used to give my grandmother stuff. And I want to say they were like almost like best friends. Like she was always over my grandmother's house, and my grandmother used to let me go over her house. And so we were outside playing, and another little girl came, and she was playing with us, but she didn't want to play the way that we were playing. And so like anytime I would suggest the way to play something, she'd be like, mind your business, someone wants to play that or whatever. And so she became quite tiresome, and I was like ready to go in the house. I'm like, I'm ready to go in the house. I'm sick of her and her bullshit. And as soon as I was like, yeah, I'm going in the house, I don't really remember verbatim. I just heard the word nigger. And so the little girl who I was playing with was like, we don't use that word. She was like, Ian, what y'all gonna do? She said, my mother's a lawyer. She was like, I can say whatever I want, and walked off. So I went in the house, and I'm crying because I had never heard that word before. Like I've heard it, and I've heard like, of racism and stuff, but I come from Dorchester. It's predominantly black. My neighborhood was all black. So I've never been called one. I've never heard anybody else call one. I only saw it on TV. So I didn't understand what was happening there. And so, but I knew it was wrong. So I went upstairs and I told my grandma, and my grandmother came out, and Like, she was pissed. We walked to the girl's house. Of course, her parents were like, I have a black friend. And the mother was a lawyer. And she was like, I mean, I work with all races and creeds because I work in Boston. Ba, 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 ba. She kind of half-assed apologized for her daughter. She was like, I don't know where she would learn that from. And I remember my grandmother walking back to the house, and she said, anytime somebody say they don't know where they can learn that shit from, 99% of the time they learned it from they ass. And they don't want to look bad, so they be like, oh, I didn't teach them that. But 99% of the time, they did teach them that. And whether it was intentional or whether it was by mistake, they taught it to them. And so at the end of the day, it's just like, these are words that shouldn't even be interchanged with a child. You shouldn't even be, as a kid, as an 11-year-old, you shouldn't even know what that word means. So my grandmother, after that, proceeded to tell me a story. And I tell people you can always look it up. Apparently, my grandmother was related to Cordy Cheek by way of in-law. And feel free to Google it. If I have time, I'll put a link down if I can find it. But my grandmother ended up telling me some stories about how she saw someone hung as a child and how she felt about it and how we have come a long way. And it made me think of that when my mom said it, because I said my grandmother would only be 92 as she lived, rest her soul. This happened when I think she said she was 11 or 12, so we'll just say 10 to even it out. This has only happened like 80 something years ago. That's really not that long. There are still people alive today who were living in a time. Dude, the girl who got bused to school, Ruby Bridges, I think she ain't even that much older than my mom, and I could be dating. She's still alive. Like, she's still alive. And I'm like, things have not changed at all. Period, point blank. Things have not changed. And it's like, when my mom said that, I said, yeah, there are certain things that did change. Yeah, people ain't out here openly hanging us, but they're hanging us in different ways. They're hanging us by smashing us into these small communities. They're hanging us by, opportunities that are not afforded to us. So it just becomes this vicious cycle. I remember I talked about it with one of my really good friends, right? That I was like, people talk trash about black men. They say black men, all they do is commit crime, blah, 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 blah. And I said, but look how shit is set up. You make that one mistake, your ass is going to jail, 10, 15 years. You come out, nobody's going to hire you. You can't get businesses. You can't do anything that you want to do because you have that record from one mistake that you made. You don't got no friends, because most times some people get out and they have a friend and then the friend hook them up and then they overlook. In the case of Mark Wahlberg, they did a hate crime. That guy is still alive. Him and his brothers own Wahlburgers, and it's like, all of that hate crime shit that he did, they were trying to sweep under the rug so that they can get a liquor license. As a black guy, you're not afforded that. It is what it is. You're not afforded that. And it is what it is. Period. Like, if you did something wrong, it follows you and it carries throughout your whole life. That's the shit that makes that said it's a vicious cycle. So now you get a son. Your son is watching you, because every child, whether a boy or girl, looks at their parent and be like, that's Superman and Superwoman right there. So now your son is watching you, trying to make ends meet. Some people, unfortunately, do hit the streets, and some people be like, nah, I'm not about to be in these streets, even if I got to work at Burger King or Walmart. I'm about to do it. But, I mean, it's hard, because then it's like, yeah, I'm working at this place, but I'm not making enough, and my rent is $3,000, because anybody who live in Boston know, if you don't got a house, you paying at least a good couple of stacks for a 2-bedroom apartment, because I've looked before, and I've been in that position where I've paid thousands of dollars for a 3-bedroom apartment. And so it's like, if you don't have somebody on the inside team, and even that's hard, then you're fucked, period. It is what it is. And so when I'm talking to my mom about it, I'm just like, we still at the same level. We only moved 2 steps. What should I be happy about? Oh, I could vote now. Look how long that took. Oh, and it's like, even with that, they still don't want to count our votes. This whole thing with the whole Trump and everything like that, they trying to discount votes that were predominantly black, which is the mail-in vote, because black people was like, yo, I'm not going out, or the early vote. They're like, yeah, I'm going out in the droves. And they were like, nah, this ain't the time. No, we don't want those votes. It's like, it breaks my heart at the end of the day that when my mom was like, but we've moved up, and I'm like, we just really haven't. Like, we've taken baby steps, but we need a leap. I am still in anybody with my skin color is still not barely considered a human. How many videos do y'all see a day? Like, one of my cousins posts videos of things like that, and I swear he's probably up in the month of January alone. I've seen him post videos of numerous people screaming at black people and berating them. They didn't go as far as calling them the N-word, but you might as well, when you start saying, I have the right to do this, and all their privileges showing on their shirt. It's like, yo, what the heck? It's like, it's just annoying. And so I tell my mom, I'm like, yeah, we've come a long way, but not long enough. And look how long it's taken. We still ain't seen as human beings. You and I, or me and whoever, we're just seen as like just people, barely. Let me get that in. And so it just makes me mad, because it's like, what are we supposed to do? So back to the video, the news station of Florida. And again, I'm not surprised that this happened in Florida. Not at all. My dad lives in Florida, and we've had issues in Georgia recently. This is another reason why I say things have not changed. I went to visit my dad. Before he moved to Florida, he lived in his home city of Columbus, right? So I went to visit my dad, and we were driving through Walmart parking lot because we needed to pick up some stuff. So this big ass pickup truck decides we were going too slow for him and cuts us off. Immediately, Juan's getting ready to be like, yo, what the fuck, dude? Like, you almost hit me with my kids. My dad pushes him to the side and said, don't do that. You can't act crazy to white people down here. They still call us boy, and they still shooting us. And I looked at my father like, he's like, yeah, you can't talk to the white people crazy down here like that. He was like, we don't got no rights down here. Bro, this was like, I want to say 2014, 15. Between 2014 and 2015, whenever I drove to Georgia, my dad could probably tell you the date better. It might even be a year older than that, but wasn't that long ago. Still wasn't no 10 years ago. And I'm looking at my dad like, really? He said, yeah. Then he told me about some instances at his job where it was like somebody called him a boy, and he was like, I was old enough to be this kid's freaking father. And I'm like, again, we still not seen as humans. We seen as the scum beneath people's feet. And that lady showed that and showed her ass in that video. And I said, the fact that she was so freely saying this shit on video, and how many times other people have caught people just acting all crazy toward us black people, we haven't moved, like, at all. Like, we'll probably move a little and then we go back. And it breaks my heart, because I would love for my kids and all of our kids to grow up in a world where we're all seen as equal, because we are equal. But I feel like that's never going to happen. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. But it's like, when it comes down to a human being, I get it. Some people, I've heard excuses of, oh, I don't like black people because something bad. I got robbed by a black person in 2005. And I'm like, so then that means all black people are bad? No, but I don't really trust them. But I like you because you're nice. And it's like, see how you think I'm nice? There's other nice black people out there. Don't let what someone did to you back in 1906 affect how you feel about all black people. That's stupid. It's silly. Because if that's the case, then I shouldn't like any white people at all, because of the run-in that I had with that little girl, how her family reacted to it, and how they kind of swept it under the rug and was like, oh, y'all are good. But I can never be like that. I don't, and I tell people now, I'm not the one to always tell, I love everybody, period. Just like, and I hate to say this, but it's like, yo, two of my best friends are white, but I love everybody. I got friends of all races and creeds, because my mother told me to love everybody. My grandmother told me to love everybody. My grandmother was born in 1923. Like I said, she saw her own family member get hung. She's seen countless times where white people have chased her home. My grandmother grew up in the South, Maury County, Tennessee. So if that ain't racist, that's racist. You hear me? Like, and she was still kind to white people. She never took what some white people thought of her or did to her and sprinkled it on all white people and was like, this is how all white people are. So even with that white lady acting like that, it still won't change my opinion. You have to prove to me that I should like you. I'm not going to just look at you and be like, oh, all white people be acting crazy. You see them videos? I don't fuck with white people. No, you got to prove to me that you crazy so then I can stop fucking with you. Period. Point blank. And like, I watched the video. I think my brother had like the shorter version, but my cousin had like the real whole version. And I'm just like, yo, this lady is like outlandishly disrespectful. And I said, but you know one thing? I said she made sure that like we all know that she the enemy. She don't like us, so we don't need to like her. I said she stood in her truth. She said, I'll call him a nigga again. I don't give a fuck. Like, and I was astounded at it. But then I thought about it. Like, she just telling us who she is. Now we know. Stay the hell away from whatever the hell her name is. I don't want to call her Karen. I hate when people say Karen. My aunt's name is Karen, and I feel like she ain't like that. I feel like that's a bad way to call that name, because Karen's a nice name. But I just had to get that off my chest. Like, I really had to get that off my chest, because I tell people now, like, yeah, we've come away, but not as far as we think. There's room for improvement. Once we start getting treated equal, which is, you know, I like to see some more black owned businesses. But the common struggle that I feel, that I hear from my friends that are black, and they're like, yo, it was so hard for me to get a loan. Like, they were, and even if I had to get a loan, it was like with all these kind of crazy terms and stuff. But then they would have a friend that would be like, well, I got the loan mad quick, or my mother got it from me. And it's like, we don't get that opportunity. And I feel like people don't understand that, and they think we're making it up, but it is true. It is what it is. I would like to see that, you know, the first time you get in an argument with someone, why you gotta call me the N-word? Like, really? Like, that's your go-to? You can't call me a fat bitch? Okay, cool, whatever, I'll be that. I could lose the weight, but you can't lose that hate. You always gonna have that in your brain. Like, I would just love the day where our kids could grow up and feel safe. We getting it from all sides. We getting it from, like, you know, white people who don't like us. Then at one point in time, now we got to feel scared of the police officers who are supposed to save us. I've had black people tell me that if I was ever getting beat up by a white person, or I got into a conflict with a white person and they called the police, I would just leave because I know I'm going to go to jail. That's sad. We shouldn't feel that way. They're supposed to be here to protect us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not supposed to be in fear of them. We're supposed to be like, word, you're here. Can you solve this matter? Not, damn, these people are going to come and I'm automatically at fault because of my skin color. That's so stupid. It's just so stupid. So I loved having a conversation with my mom. I think we should all have conversations when these kind of videos come out, because we need to address these things and we need to speak to them as a whole, because our community is under attack all the time. Like, all the time. Anybody who lives in Boston, Dorchester, predominantly black, we're almost all gone. Like, they're pushing us out, so we're not allowed to, we can't even afford Dorchester anymore. Like, I've had people who've been living in an apartment that they rented from somebody for 20, 30 years, and they're like, yo, I gotta go because now the landlord's trying to sell the house, or the landlord sold the house, and now this new person, they trying to get me out, so they're like, oh, the rent's $3,000. Like, bitch, I could have 2 mortgages for that, 2 houses, and build my own empire. And it is crazy. It's like, no one can afford that. No one that you or I know. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that was why I was just like, I'm over this. I'm just over it. It's so sad to see. It's so sad that our kids have to see it. It's so sad that our kids have to be taught these kind of things. My son had to learn karate. My son came home one day, said his sensei taught them about how to obey the police. I think his sensei is a retired police officer, and I know one of them is a retired, what the heck is he called? Not a private investigator. I don't know. He's a retired something in law enforcement. Not a criminal, not a corrections officer. Probation officer, there we go. I was getting there. He's a retired probation officer. He's like telling them, if this is what you do, if the police officers come, you do this, that. Don't argue with them. Call it a day. And my son was like, but what if I didn't do anything wrong? And so his teacher has some wise words for him. I don't remember them verbatim. But why is my kid learning this in karate? And then he said something out like, if you have a problem with me teaching it, you know, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, this shouldn't even be something to be learned. You shouldn't even be in fear if you see a cop. It's like, okay, I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm innocent until proven guilty. It's not that I'm guilty until proven innocent. And that's what it is for us. We're guilty until proven innocent, whether they don't care how old you are. And I've had other instances where just being black in America is just crazy. Like, I remember one day we was driving somewhere and the police came and my son was like, are we going to go to jail? And I'm like, they ain't even coming after me. I pulled over because, let them go. And he was like, after that conversation, everything was scary to him. He was just like, do all police officers hate us? And I don't want to die and things like that. I don't, don't argue with a police officer. And it's just like, yeah, you shouldn't argue with a police officer, but your death shouldn't come of it. Like, if I snap off at you because you're fucking wrong, like, you're not infallible. You're a police officer, but you're not infallible. And so people don't understand what these little things do to our children. And people definitely don't understand, like, what's going on. So, I don't know. I encourage y'all to watch that video. There's some other ones that are out there. But I definitely encourage y'all to watch that video. Form your own opinions about it. She's wrong either way. Period. Point blank. She's fucking wrong. But just see the hate that's dripping out of her. And my dad said that's 99% of Florida. And I'm just like, it's so weird. When did we come a long way is my question. When? And I'm sure there's people out here could be like, oh, girl, but we have this, that, and the third. Okay, yeah, we really do. But if I can't even go to certain neighborhoods without being profiled, or my son is scared that if we get pulled over, we're going to die, we really ain't come a long way. So, with that being said, I don't know. Just watch the video. Tell me y'all thoughts on it. How y'all feel on it. I didn't mean this to be a sad day, but that video really got to me. It really, 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 really got to me. So just let me know how y'all feel on it or whatever. And it's Friday, so after that sadness, have a great weekend. Enjoy breathing on this earth, man, because we don't know when it's our time. But, and my words for the lady is, I always used to say this, and I know it sounds mean. I'd be like, I hope they have kids and they kid come home with a black person and be like, oh, now are you going to say that? Because, but I don't even wish that, because I used to think about it like that's stupid because the black person, now it's an imminent fear of this person because now you got a racist person and the kid is you don't need that drama. So I would never say that, but I would say I hope that she meets someone that's black and they are really, really like someone that she feels like kinship to, and see the error of her ways, that we're not niggers, we're people, and that we deserve respect just as much as she deserves respect. And her ass would have got more fucking, and I'm sure she went up there swearing at them, and that's why that ass wasn't listening to her. And she would have got more motherfucking honey, or how's it go? More honey, or more bees with honey than her ass would have got with vinegar. However that damn saying goes. Y'all know how it is, my people from the South. But I'm over that shit. I mean, if you guys got any other videos that you want me to see, I definitely will give you my comments on that. If I forget to put the link below, please just let me know, because I say I link shit and then I forget. But other than that, have a good weekend. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay